All right, let's start section 2.3. That is on biconditionals. A biconditional statement is a single true statement that combines a true conditional and its true converse. So we've got our conditional original and the converse, which just switches the order. All right, you can write a biconditional statement by joining the two parts with the word if and only if. Okay, what it means by these two parts is what makes up a conditional and a converse, which is that hypothesis and conclusion. Okay, so we're going to instead join our hypothesis and conclusion with the words if and only if we have a true conditional and a true converse. The symbol for this is this two-way arrow right there. So it's a little different than conditionals, converses, inverses, and contrapositives, which used a regular one-way arrow. This one is going to go both ways, all right? So this will all make a little bit more sense once we start an example. So the first thing you want to do is look at your statement. If the sum of the measures of two angles is 180 degrees, then the angles are supplementary. Is this statement true? Yes. If the sum of you have two angles and they add up to 180, we would say that they are supplementary because that's the definition of supplementary. All right? So now we're going to go ahead and write the converse. Well, the original, remember, is P to Q. Converse is Q to P. I'm going to go ahead and underline my hypothesis and squiggle underline my conclusion so that I make sure I know what I need to switch. So let's go ahead. Converses are still if-then statements. So if the angles are supplementary, then the sum of the measures of two angles is 180 degrees. Notice all that we did to write that statement was switch the conclusion and the hypothesis, okay? So the part about supplementary was first, the part about two angles adding up to 180 degrees was second. Now, is this converse true? If the angles are supplementary, then the sum of the measures of two angles is 180 degrees. Yes, that is true, because that is the definition of supplementary angles. You have a pair of angles that add up to 180 degrees. Now, because we have two true statements, a true conditional and a true converse, we can write the biconditional. Now, I don't start this with an if, and I don't have a then. Instead, I'm going to join my hypothesis and conclusion with an if and only if. So let's start. We'll start with our hypothesis, the sum of the measures of two angles is 180 degrees. And now I'm going to put in if and only if. And then let's go ahead and put in our conclusion. The angles are supplementary. Okay, so let's read that statement. The sum of the measures of two angles is 180 degrees if and only if the angles are supplementary. We can add that in because it was both ways it was true. If you have supplementary angles, you have two angles that add up to 180 degrees. All right, so let's go ahead and look at the second example. All right. We're going to write the biconditional of the following statement. If two angles have equal measure, then the angles are congruent. Let's underline this hypothesis and squiggle underline our conclusion. This is our P to Q original. Our converse will be our Q to P, just switching the order. Let's first look. If two angles have equal measure, then the angles are congruent. Well, if they're both, say, 20 degrees, then we could say that they are congruent. That is a true statement, all right? So now let's go ahead and write that converse again. Converses and conditionals still have the if and the then. We're just switching the order. So if the angles are congruent, then two angles have equal measure. Oops. There we go. Let's fix that. Equal measure. Okay, so we still have an if-then statement. Is this true? If the angles are congruent, then two angles have equal measure. Well, isn't that the definition of congruent? That they would be equal? Yes, that is. So we have, again, a true conditional and a true converse. So go ahead and pause the video and write a biconditional joining that hypothesis and conclusion using the words if and only if. All right, go ahead and check your answer. I wrote two angles have equal measure if and only if the angles are congruent. Make sure that you have that corrected if you need to. Bring in these notes filled into class. That's all there is for biconditionals.